Welcome to the Deal by Me podcast, where we invite guests to share their stories. Hello, I am Dr. James W. Smith, your host. When you listen to any of the Deal by Me podcast, please consider supporting us with a donation or a monthly contribution for as low as $3. If you're viewing or listening to this podcast on YouTube, please subscribe. To our supporters, we say thank you. Be sure to check out my inspiring, encouraging, and transformative books available on Amazon. I'm also available for speaking engagements, so feel free to contact me by Facebook, LinkedIn, or my website, www.dealbymepodcast.com. I have with me Mark Ehrenkranz, who is a certified peer recovery specialist and author of Radically Honest, whose life brings bridges to seemingly different worlds, uh, filmmaking, and frontline recovery work. After years thriving in the film industry, Mark shifted his focus from red carpets to hospital corridors, standing beside people fighting for their lives in ERs, ICUs, and detox units. That lived experience, combined with his own recovery journey that began in 1985, gives his work a rare depth, credibility, and humanity. I am excited to have Mark come and share with us today. And so, Mark, would you just share a little bit more about yourself that I may not have mentioned and where you're located?
Yes, happy to be here. As mentioned, I'm a person in long-term recovery from a substance use disorder. And as shared, I was in the movie business for 43 years. And then I retired having made a documentary called Addiction Warriors with some of the great minds in recovery these days in the US. And then I kind of put the entertainment career on the shelf and I went back to school and I became a certified peer recovery specialist, whereby one person with lived experience in recovery helping another is unparalleled.
Hmm. Well, Mark, I'm excited about having you on this podcast. As I read your profile, it was really impactful and amazing. And I was just moved by how you have moved from one uh, area of your life into another one. It somewhat reminds me of my own life. And so when I see these kinds of stories, I'm always amazed and really just want to just chat with you. Um, I noticed in part of your profile, it stated this. It says, "What sets Mark apart is his ability to communicate difficult truths with clarity, compassion, and cinematic storytelling. He knows how to engage audiences, honor nuance, and leave listeners feeling informed, moved, and genuinely hopeful." That that paragraph just said so much to me. Will you kind of explain and talk a little bit about that and what you do as you were talking to individuals and kind of communicating with them?
Absolutely. So, the first step in recovery is becoming radically honest
Hmm.
because this malady is riddled with manipulation, conning, lies, and secrets. So, when I see a participant, the first thing I do is introduce what I do. And then I explain to them the process. And I become immediately vulnerable by telling them some of my own secrets so that they feel comfortable. They know they're not alone, and that they in turn will become radically honest with me. Um, Hence, there are reasons behind that, and we can go into them further in terms of the engagement of the fight, flight, or freeze portion of our brain. Uh, and I lecture, I speak.
Hmm.
I've done that for a living for a long time, and I can begin the introduction, and we can talk about that some more. And again, the way I start is I say that I'm a person in sustained recovery from a substance use disorder,
Hmm.
and that I'm a certified peer recovery specialist. And then I say the malady is riddled with the back of the brain becoming engaged by the sympathetic nervous system, and the front of the brain, the executive decision making, is shut off. So
Mm.
it's all about fight, flight, or freeze and fear. So what
Mm.
I teach is called Navy SEAL recovery. It's not what you think, because they don't throw Navy SEALs into the ice cold water to teach them how to swim in cold water. It's to teach them how to become more comfortable with discomfort, and not just their minds, but to condition their bodies so that one, if they're thrown in the ice cold water, will tend to fight, flight, or freeze, try to
Mm.
get out of there, bargain to get out of there, or just completely go frozen.
Hmm.
So they begin to tone their bodies, and I can get into that later. It's called vagal toning, to
Hmm.
get out of the sympathetic nervous system to be in the parasympathetic nervous system so that they can begin to be more comfortable, and their bodies becoming more comfortable, and their minds to a certain extent, with the ice cold water, so that they can't panic with chaotic, uncomfortable situations. They need to maintain their cool and be comfortable with that chaotic situation.
Mm. That's very interesting and very informative. You know, there are some things that I was looking at as I was going over your profile, and there were some terms, and I want to kind of ask you to kind of talk about those because there obviously are terms that you use in your process of what you do. Uh, One of those terms is CPRS. Exactly what is that?
So that the acronym stands for Certified Peer Recovery Specialist.
Okay, so if
So,
we're talking, that's what you do. You are a certified peer recovery specialist.
correct.
Okay, okay. Now, then what is MAT, M-A-T, harm reduction and moderation management? Could you talk about that a little bit?
So MAT stands for medically assisted treatment. So
Okay,
those are things like buprenorphine or methadone, or things to curb cravings for alcohol.
okay,
And the harm reduction and the moderation management are basically an approach whereby if someone is using and they want to decrease their use to prevent further harm, that's a good step.
okay, okay. That's well said. You know, reason I'm so curious and interested in talking with you is because see, I practiced law for some years, and I became a problem gambler. So you kind I know you can kind of somewhat identify with that. And of course, obviously, I've been in the ministry now for over 40 years and pastored for 32 years before retiring, and now just left my home church as a interim pastor for almost 3 years. So I am really curious as I talk with you as to how this breakthrough and how you're dealing with other folk who are your peers. And so, why is it that humans are incessant thinking machines?
Yeah. So humans are coded for survival,
Okay.
not for love and empathy. Those are learned behaviors. So because there are modern threats, there's no longer the saber-toothed tiger, let's say.
Uh-huh.
Modern threats like your boss tapping you on your shoulder saying, I need to see you in my office in 5 minutes. So
Hmm.
that will engage that fight, flight, or freeze. The eyes will dilate, the breathing will increase, the blood will increase. You may feel a flush. So that's that modern threat that we're coded for survival. And things like traffic and all sorts of other things,
Hmm.
become modern threats.
Mm.
So this is inherent in the human operating system. And in 2026, we have evolved to this point. And our approach, whether it be medically or other approaches, has evolved to this point. Now, it's not curable, it's treatable, like
Hmm.
cancer or diabetes or a peanut allergy. So,
Hmm.
again, those maladies, maybe 50, 100 years, there may be a cure. I know that there's deep brain stimulation now going on that can mitigate some of those craving and reward center behaviors. So there's a science to it. And that's why I call it an alcohol use disorder or a substance use disorder, because participants' brains get hijacked. It's not
Mm.
them.
Mm.
So in the topic of gambling, they all have similarities.
Hmm.
So so the similarity would be one is either bored, they're seeking entertainment. Our chemical at baseline chemicals, dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, oxytocin, those are all feel good chemicals, endorphins are at baseline. When we go out to dinner or we plan a vacation, they go up a little bit. Actually, they go up higher when we plan the vacation than when we're on vacation.
Mm.
So let's say we drink some alcohol, let's call it, they go up to 400. Then there are other behaviors that are more stimulating, things like gambling. That may go up to 500, 600. Opioids go to 1,000. Methamphetamine, cocaine goes to 4,000. That's
Mm.
the highest.
Okay.
Then instead of those, natural things coming back to baseline or maybe a little bit under when we come back from a vacation for a day or two, they go up and they come down, way down. So we're feeling blue. We're feeling depressed. We want that excitation again. So we keep doing it, not only to get back to baseline, to feel normal with folks who are adrenaline junkies, right?
Hmm.
To feel a little high and excitation. And gambling could be, again, a need for escape and control or a desire to have more.
Mm.
And all of these things produce that effect. And then again, we keep doing it because we want to resume that effect. And the
Okay.
brain gets hijacked.
Wow. This is very, very interesting. And the reason I'm asking these questions because obviously you deal with these matters in your discussion with your peers. Uh, and so you may have already answered this, but then how to stop that particular thinking? We talked about this thinking machines. How do you stop that?
Sure. So again, because we're coded for survival, we're always looking toward the future, strategically planning. What am I going to do? What am I going to do next? How am I going to make more money? And it's a broken record.
Okay.
And it's basically the same thoughts every day for the most part. And to tell you the truth, that's boring,
Hmm.
right? So what we do initially is become radically honest. I'll say, "Hey, man, I just told you about me. I was addicted to Valium and Xanax and Ativan, and then drinking and cocaine and Quaaludes and sex and all of these things. I told you my secrets, Now I need you to tell me yours and tell me what's been going on. And
mm,
I've written a book. It's called Radically Honest 10 Peer
mm-hmm,
Recovery Stories,
mm-hmm,
because I need you to be honest with me and yourself for the first time. Because I know I conned, I manipulated, I lied, I had secrets, I hid my using from my wife and other people. So I know what that is. So the first thing is getting honest. The
mm,
second thing in terms of recovery is let's practice either some harm reduction management, moderation management, or abstinence.
mm,
Then the brain will begin to create new neural pathways to reconnect the front, the decision making, the clear thinking, with this reward center that's based on wanting more, needing more, survival. So that's the second step. And then what we call recovery, which is deconditioning the thinking up until this point and reconditioning it with more positive thinking, with shifting, with all of these things I can go into greater
mm.
to connect the brain. And in
Wow.
AA, it takes 90 days to create a new habit. And then in our field, we know that 2 years is a big benchmark. And I don't tell participants this because it's too onerous, that it takes 5 years for our brain to really stabilize and for us to get our marbles back. In
Mm,
certain community support groups, they actually give you marbles at year 5.
mm. This is amazing. I just love this conversation with you. Let me ask you something else. What do you mean when you talk about getting more comfortable with discomfort?
Yeah, so generally, I'll speak from my experience.
Uh-huh.
I took pills and used drugs so that I could feel more in control and more comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So if I were walking into an interview or a situation with a celebrity or early on in my career, I'd feel nervous, anxious. Actually, I didn't even know what feelings were. Feelings are the pit in the stomach, feeling a rush. Then the emotions are what we label them as to define the feeling. And those are things like sad, angry, nervous. Yeah.
Mm,
So so I was feeling uncomfortable.
mm,
So what did I do? Because of conditioned behavior, I would take something to feel more comfortable and more in control in that situation so I could excel, so I could be my best self, yeah, and not be uncomfortable. So when we give up these behaviors of alcohol or sex or gambling, which gave us excitation and escape, there will be discomfort during that separation. And there
mm,
will be things in life that are still there: the stress, the expectation, the disappointment, this conditioned thinking, plus circumstances. One may still have to go to work. There will still be traffic. People may press your buttons, or you allow them to
mm,
press your buttons, and you will become uncomfortable.
mm,
And so if someone at baseline is comfortable and they become a little uncomfortable from, let's say, worry about going to sleep, it goes here. If, like, the boss is tapping on your shoulder, it goes here. When we get rid of the substance, all of that stuff may go here. It gets worse
mm.
because there's nothing to medicate it with. Yeah.
I hear you.
So
Mm,
that's why the deconditioning of the thinking and the reconditioning with regulation and rewiring begins to allow us to go from here, not to be dysregulated and nervous, up to here, to begin to go to here and then to regulate very quickly, or
mm.
not even to dysregulate. And
Wow.
that's the conditioning I do, which is vagal toning. That's the naval SEAL part, Navy SEAL part, along with a lot of other techniques and tools, which, from my experience, use a combination of the 12 steps, which is one of the greatest pathways for change. It doesn't have to be the AA or NA's pathway. There doesn't have to be God involved or even higher power. So I use that plus a number of many different techniques, CBT, DBT, all of other things to identify behaviors, change the behavior, change the reaction. Not only to react to the world, but how you perceive the world.
Wow. Mark, uh, when I started this podcast, I wanted to do something because was I was retiring from my ministry, pastoring. I wanted this to continue my ministry. So I wanted to do a podcast and I wanted to uh, focus on encouraging, inspiring, and transforming. And it has been very successful. As a matter of fact, uh, I've already done over uh, 300 podcasts. And uh, last I heard, I had done over 7,500 downloads. Uh, and so I'm curious as we're talking. Uh, People who listen to my podcast, there may be some who going through some of these same things that we're talking about, gambling, drugs, alcohol, whatever it may be. What would you say to them that would be encouraging, inspiring, and maybe hopefully transforming? Is there a word that you would say to them?
One word.
Well, two or three.
Yeah, so that has to go back to becoming more comfortable with discomfort.
Mm,
Because in life, not just substance use disorders,
mhm,
we all worry. We all
mm,
have fear. We
okay.
all have feelings. We all maybe want more things in our life. And until we get there or see getting our ducks in a row, we don't feel like we've arrived or that we are where we want to be. We're always trying to get things or become somebody rather than be somebody in the moment.
Mm,
There's no becoming successful. There is no becoming successful.
mm,
There's only being successful
mm.
in the moment. Much
I-
like a baseball player must hit the wood bat on the ball in that moment.
mm,
Cannot think about the base hit, cannot think about the inning, cannot think about winning, cannot think about the season because he needs or she needs to be successful in that moment.
mm.
That's it. That's it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Listeners, don't go to place. Just want to give uh, Mark the opportunity to tell you where you can learn more about him, where you can get his book, and any other information he wants to share regarding that at this moment. Mark, so would you do that for listeners?
Yeah, for sure. So, as you can see in my background, my anthem is Go Humans. And this is in reaction to celebrating humanity, looking at the positive, cheering us on. Just say it. And also, there's lots of AI going on. So,
Hmm.
I feel like we want humans to be continue to be human.
Mm,
And so you can find everything we've spoken about at go-humans.com. And the dash on a headstone is our lives. There's the
mhm,
beginning when we're born, and there's the end. What matters is the dash.
mm.
So it's go-humans.com.
I love it.
Everything is there. And you can find my book, Radically Honest 10 Peer Recovery Stories. You can also find my first book, which is entirely about my recovery in Hollywood and elsewhere, called The Great American Suburban Experiment.
Wow. Mark, you've been awesome. And I really have appreciated this conversation. Is there any parting words that you want to leave with listeners at this moment before we close out this segment?
I feel that a lot of spiritual disciplines, whether you call them religion or whatever, Buddhism, Hinduism, Catholicism, Judaism. For me, I've learned a lot about some of those. I've learned a little bit about a lot of them. And for me, I've found that they all lead to two places, not exclusively two places, but there's different language, different methods in each to lead to love and breath.
Mhm.
Love and breath. And love can mean many things. It can mean God, it can mean oneness, it can mean many. That's love. And love is an action, it's not an idea. And breath, because that gives us life. And the key to being present and being human is breathing in one's belly. So I'll leave you with one exercise. Set your alarm right now on your phone. Do it. Oblige me. And for noon every day, and hit repeat Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday through Sunday. And belly breathe. You can look it up. Diaphragmatic breathing, like your diaphragm,
Mhm.
low in your belly for 1 minute, just 1 minute, and it will begin to change your life
Mm.
and create new neural pathways so that you can regulate and rewire.
Mark, you've been awesome. I've enjoyed the conversation, and thank you again for sharing with the Deal by Me podcast. And there you have it, Mark. I'm going to let him pronounce that last name, Ehrenkranz. I think I've got it correct.
Very close.
Sharing with us today, and until next time, peace and blessings be with each of you.